What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. It's the 2018 offseason, week number 7. I got the crew with me. I got David Stoyo in Canada.
How's it going?
I got Gavin Heslop in Oregon.
Hello, hello.
And we have a special guest on with us this week, former Bears and Dolphins safety Cameron Worrell. What's up, Cam?
What's going on?
Thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. I'm glad we could make this work.
Yeah, it's cool. You're our first Bears guest, so that's a definite honor on our end.
Nice. I like breaking the Bears seal on podcasts or shows, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you that don't know, Cam joined the Bears in 2003. He was out of Fresno State. He was undrafted and then won a tryout during minicamp to make the team. Cam would record 101 tackles, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 sacks in his 6-year NFL career with both the Bears and the Dolphins. And let's start at the beginning, Cam. What was your mindset coming out of Fresno State? Did you expect to be drafted?
Yeah, I did. I had an all-conference season at Fresno State. We were in the WAC back then, so it was the first team all-WAC safety. Had a lot of really good discussions leading up to the draft. The Bears were a team that I spoke to quite a bit. The Bengals, the Dolphins, who I eventually ended up playing with as well. The 49ers. So really 4 teams that told me throughout the process that I was on their board, that, if there was an opportunity to grab me late in the draft, 6th or 7th round, that they would be, they'd be looking to do that. And if not, pretty much every team said, we'll call you towards the end of the draft. We don't have a slot for you. We want to bring you as an undrafted free agent. And I sat there on the second day of the draft. It was only 2 days back then. Sat there on the second day of the draft and didn't hear my name called, which wasn't, a shocker. But the most surprising thing was I had no calls from anyone.
Wow.
After the draft. Towards the end of the draft, I was shocked. I had no idea what to think. I mean, I talked to the Bengals and the Dolphins the morning of the second day. I spoke to them on the phone, and they told me I was on their draft board, and if not, I would be a priority free agent for them. And I didn't hear from anyone until the Bears the following day. And luckily, my guy Marty Barrett, who is a longtime scout for the Bears, is now with the Eagles, just won a Super Bowl championship, brought me in as a minicamp tryout, and was able to make some noise, and I guess the rest is history.
Wow, that's crazy. That's got to be a nerve-wracking time sitting there watching the draft and watching names go and just hope that your name gets called. That's crazy.
Yeah, watching names go of guys that I knew I was better than.
Yeah.
Guys that I had watched in college and had, through the process kind of compared myself to, and I was certain I was a better safety than a lot of safeties that were drafted in front of me. So it was tough. It was definitely, a growth experience, not just as a football player, but as a person. And I think it made me better. It made me hungry. It made me, pissed off at every team that passed me up, Bears included. And, I probably wouldn't have gotten 6 years out of an NFL career had I not gone through an experience like that.
Yeah, and it was obvious that it got to you and made you motivated, made you pissed off because you got your opportunity in Chicago, and you made the most of it and were able to make the team with that tryout and minicamp. What was that like? Was that difficult? Did you really make a name for yourself in that minicamp?
Yeah, I had a good minicamp, and luckily for me, the Bears drafted Todd Johnson in the 4th round out of Florida in 2003. But other than that, there were only 3 veteran safeties. Mike Green, who was a longtime starter, Mike Brown, who every Bears fan knows Mike Brown,
Yep.
and Bobby Gray, who they had drafted in 2002. So they had only 3 safeties on the roster. They drafted Todd in the 4th round, and they brought in Julius Curry, a free agent safety out of the University of Michigan, and myself. So luckily, there was a depleted safety roster, so to speak, and there was an opportunity to bring me in. And when you sign a deal in the NFL, even if you sign an undrafted, free agent deal and you get a little signing bonus, it means zero. They'll cut you the next day. There's nothing guaranteed. So basically, for me, getting that contract was just an invite to training camp. I knew I would be back out there working in the off season and learning the system, trying to make an impact every day. And luckily, uh, I had a good off season. I was very hungry going into camp, and I said, hey, if the Bears don't keep me, I'm going to try to do whatever I can so another one of these 31 other teams, wants to keep me. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was a whirlwind, but got in a good room with a lot of good vets and learned a lot. Was able to stick around.
Yeah, that what a team to join. You had to be pretty good to get on that nasty Bears defense back then. Stoyo, do you have a question for Cam?
You were part of the '05 and the '06 Bears. Can you talk to me about what happened those 2 seasons?
Man, when I was a rookie, Dick Geron was our head coach in '03. Dick got fired, and Lovey came in 2004. And the 2004 season was interesting because we played really good defense, but Rex goes down, Craig Krenzel gets some starts, Jonathan Quinn gets some starts. We're kind of cycling through guys who didn't last very long in the NFL or didn't have success as a starting quarterback. But as a defense, we grew a lot. We really learned that cover two inside and out, and it really set us up for '05 and '06. Even '05, Rex goes down, Kyle Orton comes in, plays good enough to keep us winning, and we get to the playoffs. We get a home playoff game against the Panthers, a team that had been to the Super Bowl a couple of years before, a veteran team who knew how to win playoff football, and they came into Soldier Field and they really beat us down. I mean, for the first time that year, really, we were dominated by an opponent, and that really set us up for 2006. I mean, all the pieces were there. We trade for Adewale Ogunleye, and he really, adds a pass rush element to that. Cover two, try to get pressure with just four guys and play coverage behind. He really allowed us to do a lot of that. But it was just, that group was nasty. And
Yeah.
you just go across the board with, Nate Vasher and Peanut Tillman at the corner spot. Two good cover guys, but very physical. Mike Brown, Mike Green, two safeties who, were longtime veterans. Then Chris Harris comes in, as a second-year guy and replaces Mike Green. And then Lance Briggs, Ricky Manning comes in from Carolina and adds a veteran presence to that nickel spot. And then, the guys up front, Alex Brown, Adewale, Ian Scott, Tommy Harris, who, I'll go down till my last breath saying if Tommy doesn't get hurt at the end of that 2006 season, there's no chance.
Yep.
There's no chance that we lose to the Colts
Oh,
in the Super Bowl. There's just not. And then Mike Brown goes down, so Danielle has to step up as a rookie. He busts the coverage in the Super Bowl because we were working off a wristband. So just a couple. I'm telling you, Tommy Harris at that time he was Warren Sapp. He was on the Warren Sapp path. So explosive, so disruptive. Teams couldn't run the ball even when we were in cover two because Tommy was so disruptive, and we really missed that in the playoffs, and we missed that in the Super Bowl. But man, so much fun playing with those guys. So much that I learned, and great relationships that I made. That was a group that we really loved. We really loved each other. We had a great time off the field in the locker room, and when we were on the field, we were trying to punish people. We wanted to win, whether we scored, or we had to shut an opponent out and win with a field goal. It was on our shoulders every game to put forth a performance that would allow our team to do that, and that was our mindset every time we took the field.
Yeah, exactly. That defense was insane. That's why we love the Bears was because of those years. I mean, growing up, getting to see that. I mean, I commented on Reggie Wayne posted something about the Colts Super Bowl that year, and I had to comment and say, man, if Tommy Harris was out there, we were taking that one home. What was it like with a guy like Devin Hester in there in '06?
Man, I was very blessed. Playing at Fresno State, we had Bernard Berry, who ended up, was on that Super Bowl Bears team as well. Left and went to Minnesota, but Bernard in college was a great kick returner and a great punt returner. And then I get to the Bears, and Jerry Azuma is a Pro Bowl kick returner. R.W. McQuarters, is a really good punt returner. So, I had the luck of blocking and playing with some exceptional return guys. And then,
That's awesome.
we draft Devin Hester, and everybody saw that highlight film at the U. It was insane. That it was stuff that he did to Duke, and what he was able to do as a returner. Everybody knew it. Well, his rookie year, Devin played corner, so he was in the DB room every day, with us. And I tell this story a lot. When Devin first got to Chicago, he was almost impossible to understand because he had that South Florida accent. So Peanut used to translate for Devin when he would answer a question with Vance Bedford. Peanut would translate, so we all kind of understood where he was coming from. But we knew he was special from the first moment. The first practice that we had in OTAs, we knew that this dude was different. And I think what separates him, when you compare him to like Dante Hall, who's a guy who came right before Devin, who was one of the best returners in the league, or anybody that was a good kick returner or punt returner. Like Devin could make you miss. He was as fast as anybody. He'd go from 0 to full speed in 2 or 3 steps. But he was 200 pounds. Devin was a big kick returner for the movement skills that he had. So, when you were blocking for Devin, and I felt the same way with Jerry Azuma returning kicks. If you were blocking for those guys, you made damn sure that the guy you were responsible for didn't make the tackle, because if your guy made the tackle, that could cost you 6 points. Legitimately, one tackle could cost you 6 points with those guys back there. And that Rams game on Monday night is the one that really sticks out to me. Where I don't know why teams kept kicking to Devin. Honestly, I don't know why the Colts kicked to him in the Super Bowl. Man, I don't understand it. I never could understand it. Give us the ball at the 35 and go to work. But that Rams game was special. He was, the greatest kick returner of all time, and I think he'll be the first, really pure kick returner to be in the Hall of Fame. Because if Devin Hester's not a Hall of Fame player, I don't know very many people who are, because he was completely dominant at a position, and I don't think there's been anybody before him, or there will be anybody like him again for a long, long time.
Wow, that's insane. That had to be an awesome special teams unit to be a part of.
Yeah, we were stacked, man. I went back not too long ago, and just looking down the line of, Brendan Iambadejo, who was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Israel Adonijah, who was 270 pounds up down on kickoff. Myself, Todd Johnson, Dante Wesley, Leon Joe, Rod Wilson, Hunter Hillen. We were loaded with cover guys, and we were for a good stretch, 2 or 3 years, we were the best in the NFL. Excluding Devin, throw Devin into that, we were head and shoulders above everybody else.
Wow, that's awesome. Gavin, do you have a question for Cam?
I think we may have lost Gavin.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
First of all, hearing you talk about that defense you played on, and Devin Hester being a lifetime Lions fan, it just makes me sad, because those are all years the Lions were struggling to find the only identity they had was just to lose all the time. So you guys made that really easy. So, but speaking of the kick returning, and Hester, there's been a lot of changes made in the NFL to try and increase player safety. Most notably, the last couple of years, they've made rules about defenders and runners, leading with the crown of their helmet or not being able to now. But they've also talked about removing kick returns altogether. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were on whether these rules, one, were actually going to increase player safety enough to keep the game alive, and also maintain the integrity and excitement that is the NFL that we all know and love.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. For me, if kick returns winning the game, I don't know if I play 6 years in the NFL. I don't know if I have a job for that long. A lot of special teams guys like me who were backups and played on all 4 special teams, like those rules are less valuable if you don't have kick returns. If you don't have guys who need to be cover guys and make tackles on some of the best athletes in the game. But you also, as the NFL, you have to be proactive with player safety, and kick return is one team of guys lining up and running full speed down the field and running in to other players who are set up and who are coming at them to make a block, or they're setting up to double team. It's a very dangerous play. The NFL, they've done a good job of changing the game. The game that I played, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the things that we were allowed to do, they've taken them out of the game, and rightly so. I'm glad that they've taken those out. I'm glad that they've been proactive in trying to move towards a safer game. I hope they figure out something else besides getting rid of the kickoff. It's such an exciting play. There's so many historical moments if you look back through the years of kick returns that made an impact in big games, a la Devin Hester taking one back in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're exciting. They're meaningful. They've taken, the 4-man wedge. And the Lions and Corey Schlesinger used to run that 4-man wedge. And you hammer people. So, they got rid of that. Now you can only have, 2 guys together. So they have made the play safer. If you always look at the statistics, which I think the NFL is going to continue to do, per play, the kickoff is going to be the play with the highest rate of injury just because of the nature of it. But there aren't enough, kickoff returns in an NFL game right now to totally eliminate it. Most of the kicks now are touchbacks because they move the ball up to the 35-yard line. You only get 5 yards as a head start instead of like 10, like that we used to take when you're a cover guy. So they have made the play safer. I hope they keep it in because I have a ton of good memories, and I know a lot of Bears fans, Ravens fans in the Super Bowl with Jacoby Jones taking one back. There are a lot of historical plays that come from that, and I hope they figure out a way to keep that in the game.
Yeah, I think it can mess with the strategy too. Like, for instance, like not just the returns in the Super Bowls like that you guys had or Jacoby Jones, but also you think about the Saints against the Colts. A few years later, where they had that onside kick to open up the second half. If they take out the kick return. Like, there's no onside kick in that situation. That play doesn't happen, and who knows, who comes away with Lombardi at the end of that night. Yeah. So I hope they can come up with something that's that keeps it in there, but also can somehow make it safer. I've heard different suggestions, like taking away the 5 yards even that they're getting now, and the other than the kicker, they have to come from a standstill, or maybe they start them at the 10 or something. If they can kick a field goal from the 35 or something, that's a little ludicrous, but something that keeps that potentially exciting part of the game intact.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those guys that I hate to see them messing with the game. I mean, I grew up watching football a certain way. I grew up enjoying special teams. I grew up enjoying watching the Bears smash mouth defense and the Ravens defense and the Bucks, and I just don't want to see it change too much. And it's already, in my opinion, changed a lot for the good in some areas. But Cam, do you think that in the future something like players signing a waiver or better long-term health insurance or something like that for the players union would help the game move forward?
Yeah, I think that's always going to be something that has to be addressed, and it's crazy to me that you have NBA players, you have Major League Baseball players who have lifetime medical insurance, And you have NFL players who have insurance, during their career, and then for 5 years after, and then you're on your own. When you're in an industry that is really damaging,
Yeah.
to your body, the NFL went through that concussion settlement. They've really yet to pay anybody. They will never give up something like lifetime medical unless they're totally forced to. A player strike, or some sort of negotiations that force their hand into giving players lifetime medical benefits. But their answer is, and it always has been, especially under Roger Goodell, they want to police the game, and they're always policing it, and their answer is to penalize players. It's crazy to me that a game where the players are over 50% bankrupt within 3 years of retiring, that the NFL's answer is to take money away from those players while they're playing,
Exactly.
with borderline rules and borderline calls. There has to be a better way to make the game safer other than penalizing players and fining players. Fine a team, penalize head coach, you lose a replay. There has to be something more than just, if you lower your head and make incidental contact with the defenseless receiver, we're going to fine you $30,000 the next day. I think that's one of the the big reasons why the NFL is continuing to search for these rule changes, because they haven't figured out a way to truly make the game as safe as they want it to be. And they've done a good job. They've taken a lot of those helmet-to-helmet hits out. I really don't think that this crown of the helmet, lowering the helmet rule that they put in is going to work. I don't know how you police it.
Yeah.
But they have to continue to figure out ways to, if you're going to penalize teams and players, maybe you start penalizing organizations who continue to have these type of plays exist, because taking money out of players' pockets, it only hurts the players. It doesn't hurt an organization. It really doesn't hurt the NFL. They're really just taking those out of the players' pockets. So something has to be done. They have to be proactive in some way to continue to take those damaging hits out.
Absolutely, that's a great point. I hate seeing the NFL needs to take better care of their players. The game won't be the same without the players. These are great athletes out there, putting their body on the line, and you're taking money out of their account. Why not find, I agree with you 100%, why not find these billionaire owners that, like a guy like Vontez Burfict? You're going to employ the guy, make the owner have to pay the fines for what he's doing on the field. I agree completely. The NFL has to get this figured out, and I think that the owners should stop penny pinching a little bit and take better care of their players.
You get no argument from me, Alex. Man, that's something that I've been preaching for a while, and the answer can't be to penalize players, and just hit their pockets, but you have to figure out something that works much better than that.
Yeah, especially in a league that doesn't have guaranteed contracts. It's double-sided. It's bullshit. It doesn't work for me, and I don't get it. But I hope the league keeps on being successful, and I hope that we get it figured out and get what's better for the players. Stoyo, do you have a question for Cam?
What is something that the fans don't understand about being a professional player?
Oh, man. I mean, there's a lot. I would probably say the number one thing that most fans don't understand is just how physical the NFL really is. And you can watch it on TV and you get a sense of the collisions, how big and fast some of these guys are. But, I really don't think a lot of fans have a good idea of what it takes to play, 4 preseason games, 16 regular season games, and then if you make the playoffs, 3 or 4 playoff games. I mean, it's such a physical grind. And, I watched games on TV now, and I think, man, I was crazy to want to do the stuff that I see guys doing. Not just crazy, to want to play in the NFL and, cash a paycheck, but I literally love to run full speed into whoever. I didn't care. Brandon Jacobs, Jeremy Shockey. I didn't care. I didn't care who it was. I was trying to damage an opponent, and now when I watch guys do that, oh man, it makes me cringe almost. That I used to enjoy that. I think that's the number one thing that fans just don't quite understand. They don't quite understand how big and fast guys are moving, and just how damaging those collisions are. I mean, people say it's like a train wreck, and it's literally like you wake up on Monday and you've literally gone through 5, 10, 15, 25 car accidents. That's the type of force that you're exerting on your body, especially 198-pound safety. But it's
Wow.
it's if you haven't been on the sideline, or if you haven't been sitting in the front row at an NFL game, I highly recommend that to everybody, because it will give you a true understanding of what really goes on a football field.
Wow, that's a great perspective. Great answer on that. That's cool. Um, Another question here. Who would you say? I've seen you talking about going up against these legends of the game. Like you went up against Brett Favre multiple times a year. One of the best receivers to ever play the game, in Randy Moss. What was it like going up against these Hall of Fame great players? And who would you say would be like your toughest opponent faced?
Well, for me, it's got to be Randy Moss, because he put me on a couple posters when I was with the Dolphins and he was with the Patriots. I made his top 5 list. So for me, Randy Moss is the one that they got me. But you think back to Randy Moss, obviously, Brett Favre, LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, Terrell Owens, those guys, Tom Brady. The guys that I remember are the guys who, in the meeting room all week, we had to specifically game plan for. We had a very specific game plan for how we were going to defend Randy Moss. We had a very specific game plan for how we were going to defend Marshall Faulk when he was in the backfield. And then we had another game plan for how we were going to defend him when he was out in the slot as a receiver. Brett Favre, I think I was tweeting the other day, Brett Favre, we had separate rules for Brett Favre in cover 2 compared to every other quarterback in the NFL. There was not one other quarterback that could break the cover 2 rules that we had, like Brett Favre did. For instance, if he rolled all the way to his right and you were the safety on the far half of the field, if it was any other quarterback, you could cheat to the middle of the field, and we would say, if he tries to throw it back across the field, we'll have enough time to recover. Well, with Brett Favre, you couldn't do that. You had to stay home. I mean, those are the guys that stick out. The guys that you had to create special game plans for. Because if you didn't, have a corner hit Randy Moss and have a safety over the top of him, or if you didn't have special adjustments for Marshall Faulk when he split out, they were going to beat you. Plain and simple, they were going to beat you, because they were going to make an effort to get them the ball in situations they could win, and they were going to do it every play unless you tried to take it away. But it was fun, playing against guys like that. Those are the games that I remember. Even though Randy Moss got the best of me, Brett Favre beat us, a few times when I was up in Chicago. Those are the games that you remember, playing against guys like that. The level of competition, the level of efficiency, and just how good they were at executing whatever it was they were trying to do. I took a lot from those guys. It inspired me to try and be a better football player, because they executed at such a high level every time they took the football field.
That's awesome. Great insight on that. That's got to be unbelievable to say that you played against those guys in the NFL. That's a great legacy. Stoyo, do you have another question?
You were part of my favorite game as a Chicago Bears fan, the Chicago Bears versus Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football in 2006.
Yep, I knew that was coming. My favorite game was got to be the Cardinals Monday Night game. And I know you know this, Stoyo, but if fans think back to that, I think we were 7 or 8-0 at the time.
Yeah.
And we had pretty much ran through everybody, and we were on a high. Our Rex had been playing great football. Our defense was playing great, and then we get there, for that Monday night game, and I think that was the first game of that season that we faced an opponent that was really amped up to play us. We had kind of snuck up on some people. We had won with defense. Other games we just blew, like the Bills and the Lions. We just blew those teams out. And, that was the first time the team was ready. They had game plan for us. They had a good game plan of how to beat our defense. They had to get the ball.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, here we go.
Okay. So, when Levy came in, the first meeting we had, he said, look, our goal on every play, whether we're on offense, defense, or special teams, we're kicking off, we're returning, our goal on every play is to score a touchdown. So if you're a defender, you have to take the ball away from someone and then return it, for a touchdown. So we had worked on that. Every time the ball was on the ground in practice, we scooped it and brought it back to the line of scrimmage. If we picked one off in practice, we took it all the way back to the end zone. Like, we had worked on those things, and they translated to having success in the game. So we went back there for that second half. We were confident, and we knew as a defense we have to do everything in our power to give ourselves a chance to win. And Mark Anderson strips Matt Leinart, Mike Brown takes it back for a touchdown, or vice versa. I'm not sure who did that. But then Lack strips Adrian James, and Peanut takes it back. We get these big stops, and we score on defense. And then, once again, I don't know why Arizona decides to punt the ball to Devin Hester, but they do, and he does what he did, multiple times that year and throughout his career, is take one back to the house. And that was the first time that season. We knew we were good. We were playing good football. We had a great group, and really our nucleus had been together for a couple of years. But after that game, we all knew that we had something special. We felt that we were destined to do great things that year. And I had a ton of family at that game, because I'm from Fresno. Phoenix is, hour and a half plane ride. Had a lot of family who lives in Arizona who came up. So I had about 25 people there, and it was just, it was an amazing feeling. Not only, winning that game, seeing all them after, but literally, Mike Brown got hurt that game. So he was watching the game in the locker room. When we walked into the locker room, we're going crazy because we just won the game, and we kind of, bring it up and have a talk. And on the TV, on ABC or ESPN, whoever was showing it, we saw Dennis Green give that the Bears are who we thought they were speech. We lost it in the locker room. It was insane. It just kind of capped that whole night off. Just a special night. A game I've never been a part of a game like that ever. And that one goes down in history as one of the craziest come from behind wins. I don't even know if we scored an offensive touchdown that game, but we did enough as a defense and as a special teams unit to get that one done.
Yeah, I loved everything about that game. In the first half, I remember hearing Matt Leinart, because he was mic'd up, and he had said, too easy. He said it was too easy scoring on us. And then rookie Matt Leinart, and then Dennis Green's reaction after the game. Just a outstanding game. I remember jumping off of my couch on that kick return. Couldn't believe it. Gavin, do you have a question for Cam?
Yeah, you were talking a little ago about playing against some of those greats and what it meant to play against those guys, and also talking about the guys you played with.
Go to Nike campus for like 4 days, and Ryan Shazier was there, Ryan Clark, former safety, John Ross, Dalvin Cook, Trent Dilfer runs the quarterback side of it. So a lot of former and current NFL players were there teaching kids or just hanging out. Ndamukong Suh was there. All these stars. And they're just walking around, they're coaching kids, and then Odell Beckham shows up for an appearance, and the whole place goes insane. Like, the whole place goes crazy. All of these kids, all they wanted to do was take a picture with Odell Beckham, talk to Odell Beckham. So that's when I realized, like, Odell Beckham, he's different. When you're talking about NFL stars, there are not a lot of guys that will attract that type of attention. And Odell Beckham is one in the biggest market in the world when it comes to being a professional athlete. I think the Giants would be crazy to get rid of a guy like that. Not just for what he can do on the field, but, I mean, the dude is a marketing maven, and I would keep him around as long as I possibly could. As long as he didn't fight one of my coaches on a regular basis, I would put up with whatever I had to put up with to keep that guy in my organization and to keep him happy. You know, you watch the NBA, LeBron, Kevin Durant, these guys, Russell Westbrook, they're able to dictate a lot of their situation and their circumstance. We're not used to that in the NFL, but I think with Odell Beckham, there is one guy who is going to have a little bit of that type of power who is not a quarterback, and he'll be able to dictate some things, I think, within whatever organization he ends up with.
Nice. Let's see what else. Do you have a question, Stoyo?
What do you think about Thursday night football? Do you think NFL players have enough time to recover?
Nah, not at all. not at all. I played in one Thanksgiving Day game. I was with the Bears, went down and played the Cowboys. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to get yourself up to play on that short of a time frame. I mean, really, it's play Sunday, you get back Monday, you can't really do much. You kind of install a little bit of a game plan. Tuesday, you get one practice in. Wednesday, kind of a half practice, and then you hit the road to travel. I mean, it's extremely difficult. And when I was in Chicago, I was only playing special teams. I would play maybe 5-10 snaps of defense a game. When I was down in Miami, I was playing on every special teams. I was playing every snap on defense. I mean, there's no way I would have been able to get ready from Sunday to Monday and play, with any sort of physicality, any sort of effort. Your body's just that beat up and tired that it takes a full week to get yourself back, to being able to do it. I think the Thanksgiving games are awesome. If you can have a bye week, before a Thursday night game and then play the following Sunday, then I think that can be done. But to make guys play Sunday and try and recover to play Thursday, it's in a league that already has tons of guys hurt every year. To me, it's insane that you would ask guys to do that, 10 or 12 weeks out of the season.
Yeah, I agree. That goes to another aspect of the owners taking better care of their players and working around what's best for them, not just what's best for the owners' pocketbooks and for ratings. Well, thanks a lot, Cam. We really appreciate you coming on. This was a great interview. Thanks for being our first Bear. This was awesome.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. I had a blast. Just Alex, hit me up anytime, man. If I'm free, I'll come on and talk some Bears football or Dolphins football or whatever. But, man, I hope you guys have a good one. Like I said, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks again, and you're welcome on anytime. And go Bears. All right. See ya, bro.
Go Bears.
Go Lions.
See you, fellas.
See ya.
Thank you.